noches, hoy es 30 de septiembre del 2020 y estamos en nuestro sexto episodio del podcast for Wisdom, Sabiduría Esencial, dedicado a las artes marciales, el fitness y el wellness. Hoy tenemos como invitado al Dr. Bryan Stoops, quien es instructor de artes marciales y con doctorado en educación. Dr. Stoops ha sido entrenado y certificado por varios de los instructores de artes marciales más importantes en el mundo, como Guro en las artes marciales filipinas, Jun Fan Viet Kung Do, Francis Fong en Wing Chun, Ayana Chai Shi Shute en Muay Thai, Guru Mark Denny en la Asociación de los Dog Brothers, entre otros. Hacemos esta pequeña introducción porque durante la transmisión se cortó por unos segundos la internet y no pudimos grabar el principio de la entrevista. En ese momento el Guro Stoops nos estaba explicando cuáles fueron sus inicios en las artes marciales y solamente por unos segundos no pudimos obtener su respuesta. Así que lo dejamos con la continuación de la grabación.
Always reading Black Belt Magazine and Inside Kung Fu Magazine growing up, and was always very attracted to Jeet Kune Do and Filipino martial arts and all the wonderful systems and instructors that you just named. And so in my early mid-20s, I had just finished my first year teaching high school English and started my career. I had purchased a little townhouse and I was kind of starting my life. It was time to get back into the arts, and I found Sifu Guru Bud Thompson is a full instructor under Guru Inasanto, not all that far away from where I was working. I think I started with Sifu Bud when I was 24 or 25, and everything in the last 17 years, 18 years or so has started with Sifu Bud. Sifu Bud led me to train directly with Guru Inasanto, some seminar work at the Inasanto Academy led me to all of my other instructors. And then I spent the majority of my life in Southern California, Los Angeles County. I'm in New York City now. I've only been in New York City for 2 years. I still consider Guru Inasanto my main martial arts influence. And what he always promoted to us was never stop learning, never stop growing, never stop being a student, no matter what you achieve. And I've tried to continue my practice, seeking out quality people and learning from them. And even though I have some instructorships, continue my growth and my learning, even while my practice goes here in New York City.
Right. As you said, you have trained with some of the top martial arts instructors in the world. And which do you think is the most valuable teaching they have shared with you during all these years?
Again, I think Guru Inasanto attracts very specific people within our network. And I think what's common amongst them is that mentality of never stop learning. There's always another quality instructor out there to experience and see what they have to offer. When you go train with somebody new, close your mouth, be respectful, experience what they have to offer. That's Guru Inasanto always reminds us of that all the time. When you go to study with somebody new, it doesn't matter who you are or how much experience you have. You're not there to do what you do. You already know what you do. You're there to experience what they do. So, be a good student, ask questions, but you're not there. You already know what your thing is. You're there to experience what they have to offer. And so that that's something really valuable that he's always reinforced with us. And so many people that he attracts, he'll refer to them as the Bruce Lee of, and then insert the name of the art. And what he's talking about is the kind of people that are really attracted to our lineage. They're going to go out and they're going to get the knowledge that they want, and they're going to find the experiences that they want, and they're not going to stop their journey, and they're not afraid to learn from anybody. They're not afraid to learn from younger people. Right. You know, Guru Dan talks a lot about that. You know, Sigung Taki Kimura, older than Bruce Lee. Guru Inasanto, older than Bruce Lee. And, you know, this not being afraid to train with those people, even if they had something to offer, if they were his juniors, right? Is you know, he tells a story, he's training with, talking to Taki Kimura, and he turns to Sigung Taki and says, you know, hey, Taki, we're following a child. Is Bruce Lee so much younger than that? And he meant it endearingly. But that, I mean, for me, that's the number one takeaway, is I want to be doing this my whole life. I want to be doing this up until the day I die. There's so many different martial arts out there, and I don't want anybody to do my research for me. I want to go experience it. I want to, if an art interests me, I want to take a seminar, or I want to go take an intro class. I want to experience it. I don't want to take other people's word for it, because you can find, you know, somebody on the internet writing negatively about almost any style. So I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in seeking out my own experiences and having that be my research, and then trying to promote that same sense of lifelong curiosity and open-mindedness to my students. And that's my number one takeaway from Guro Inasanto. You know, he turned 84 in July. Yeah. And again, the man's a machine. Right. And not just his seminar schedule, but I mean training. Yeah. And training where he doesn't want to be revered as the great Guro Inasanto. He just wants to go train. Right. And take class. And right. So like having that model, that's been the most valuable thing.
Excellent. And he is still learning, right? I think he was learning Burmese boxing, something like that.
Yes. Yeah. I know he's got a Cambodian boxing instructor that he likes very much, that he works with a couple times a week. Awesome. And yeah, I mean, unbelievable, yeah. Right? And I have an expression I call the opposite of Guru Dan, call it a martial arts curmudgeon. And I don't want to be ageist, but in my journey, I've met a lot of older people, and they seem to be, their curiosity has stopped. They seem to, I found here's what I like, and I'm done, and I don't want to see anymore. And Guru Dan is the opposite. And he's always learning, he's always experiencing, he's always seeking out his own answers, and just very positive. And again, you know, I'm 42, so I don't know what it is to be in my 60s or my 70s or my 80s, but I hope that I can be like that. Like, that's the most important thing, is that positivity. And you know, I took a capoeira series about a year ago when I moved here, and loved it. And I mean, it was hard, and I felt like I'm not very good at this, and I loved it. It was great. My instructor, by the end of the series, my instructor almost had me walking on my hands, because he just wouldn't, do it, go do it, practice, and it was great. And that's the way that I want to be. That and he's, like I say, I love all my instructors. I've gotten something unique and special from every one of my instructors. Like, I can't imagine my practice without any one of them. They've all brought something really special to it. But that unique positivity, that is something really, Guru Dan is the guiding light for that.
Excellent. And as you were saying, you are 42 and you went to learn capoeira. And maybe sometimes people, I'm 45, maybe sometimes people our age think it's too late for me. I don't have the time. I don't have the strength. I don't have the vital force to train this kind of activity. And it's a great lesson that you are telling us, that Guro Inosanto with 84 years, he's still learning and you are still learning. So I think that's a great lesson for everybody. You also have a master's degree and a doctorate in education. So it seems to me, and you are, of course, a martial arts instructor. So it seems to me that your real vocation is teaching. That was influenced by Guro Santo, or it was you always had that vocation?
That was what so when I was younger, I was in the performing arts. I'm still, that part of my life is not finished. My wife is a singer, not professionally, like she's been very devoted to our kids, but we both kind of feel, like you were just saying, when I was younger, I thought 42 was ancient. My 40s have been fantastic. Frankly, my 40s have been better than a lot of my 30s. Because I have that awareness that, like, that self-care has to happen. You got still biologically in your 30s, if you're lucky, late 30s, it'll start to wear, but you can still get away with some of that in your early 30s. You're still kind of there. My 40s, I've really seen the need for that self-care. So that part of my life isn't dead, it isn't over, and if anything, it's only helped me be a better teacher, being up in front of people and being comfortable and relating to people, whether it's teaching or performing or whatever that is. And part of some of my coursework in college was educational theater, and that kind of developed that interest. And I've always taught. I taught Shaolin Kempo in college. That was part of that journey. Taekwondo, even for those 3 years later, when I was an advanced student, they would let me lead the class or lead warm-ups and stuff like that. And I taught children's theater when I was in college. I taught like children's stage combat. I've always taught in one capacity or another. And I had a friend a very close friend, she was an elementary school teacher, and I did it part-time for 1 year. I was a substitute teacher, and I worked almost the entire school year, and I really enjoyed it. And sort of figured out that my niche is more, I like high school, I like the older students. And so I had finished my teaching credential, and I had finished my first year of full-time English, teaching English at the high school level. I had moved out initially after I got my degree. I moved back in with my parents for about 14 months. I saved basically my whole year's salary, and then I had some other savings. That's what allowed me, along with a little bit of family support, to buy that townhouse.
Right.
And the feeling that I had, as I told you, was okay. I bought my place. I have my career. I was working on my master's degree part-time. It's time. I know the martial arts are part of my life. I've always felt that way. It's time to get going again. And I didn't really realize that Guro Inosanto was a former school teacher until I had started with Sifu Bud, and I had the chance to kind of get to know him. And my master's my master's degree is in educational technology. I did a half thesis, half DVD. At the time, DVD was this is 2006,
Right.
so DVD is still cutting edge technology.
Right.
And the topic of that project was Jeet Kune Do philosophy to make the K-12 classroom teacher functional. And I can break it down for you in 30 seconds.
What?
Your fundamentals, your like classroom management and behavioral psychology, and those things that you have to know as a teacher that are your essentials. That would be like your educator Jun Fawn. Those are the basics. They've got to be there. The individualization and the personalization that comes from exploring those basics, that's your educator Jeet Kune Do. That's how I'm gonna find these things as I run my classroom that are unique to me, but based on what I studied in those seminal basics in the Jun Fawn. And that was essentially, so I had a DVD where there were several different martial arts, and we kind of looked at our Jun Fawn basics, and then we looked at how that might evolve to your personal Jeet Kune Do. Then there was a whole other half to the DVD where it was that was all filmed in my classroom at the time. And it was those educator basics, and then it evolved into what you would personalize and modify uniquely for yourself as your practice went on. And that was a joyful, wonderful project. And I got to cite a lot of Guru Dan's books. I got to cite a lot of Bruce Lee's books, along with a bunch of articles and scholarly journal articles and things like that. And it was really great fun. So my background as an educator has been nothing but an asset.
Right. And these things that you're saying, it leads me to talk about, you wrote a book, right? That it's called Career Command Through Filipino Martial Arts. I want us to talk more about it in a few minutes, but first of all, I wanted to, since you talk about Jun Fan Jeet Kune Do, if you can do us the honor to explain us what is, I know Jun Fan Kung Fu, it's the martial art that Bruce Lee tailored for himself, and he taught to his original students, and it's a set of techniques, training progressions, etc. And Jeet Kune Do, it's the philosophy that it's attached to that set of techniques. But sometimes people get confused when they say, well, if Jeet Kune Do are some principles, I can do my own Jeet Kune Do, I can train, let's say, karate, capoeira, jiu-jitsu, and I do my own Jeet Kune Do. What is true about that, and what is really, can Jun Fan Kung Fu exist without Jeet Kune Do and vice versa?
All right. So let me set this all up. I've been very fortunate I have most of my time in, and let's differentiate the two, Junfan Gung Fu and Jeet Kune Do. Most of my time has been spent under Sifu Guru Inasanto, Sifu Bud. And so a lot of years looking at those two arts through that lens. I'm also very lucky the last 2 years, Sigung Taki Kimura has had the Junfan Gung Fu Institute of Seattle Instructor Development Conference. And he started that in 2019. And we just had the last one in March. We got, knock on wood, we got very lucky because I returned home from that. And then within a matter of weeks, we were on lockdown. And to my knowledge, I don't believe anybody got sick. Certainly not from the conference. The conference was beautifully run and very safe. So for the last 2 years, I've been able to kind of compare and contrast Inasanto, Junfan, and JKD with now what we've been learning from the Junfan Gung Fu Institute of Seattle. And let's be honest and transparent. These are two very important words. Sigung Taki turned 95 at the first one, and then he turned 96 at the second one. His role at this point is more of a supervisor. He's present for the trainings. He'll certainly, walk, especially the first year, not this year, walk around and talk to us a little bit and share anecdotes and stories. But the real bulk of the instruction is his son, is Sifu Andy Kimura at this point. I'm also very fortunate. I have a fair amount of exposure. Sifu Tim Tackett out of Redlands, who a lot of people mistakenly think was a student of Bruce Lee. Sifu Tim was a student of Guru Inasanto, but Bob Bremer was a direct student of Bruce Lee at the Chinatown School. And Bob was the guy that nobody wanted to spar because he's a great fighter. Yeah. And so Sifu Tim was a backyard student in that first backyard class of Guru Inasanto, and then very much guided by the late great Bob Bremer. And so Sifu Mike Blesh and Sifu Steve Riesel are both full instructors under Sifu Tim. They're very close friends of mine. We've had lots of interaction, training. We've produced some martial arts instructionals, lots of conversations over the years. So, and then I also, this is grandfathered to me. Sifu Larry Hartzell was on my list of people that I wanted to train with. He passed away very early when I a couple years in to when I come into the lineage, and I never was able to work with him. But Sifu Tim Becker and Sifu Chris Harley were senior students under Sifu Larry, and they're very close friends of mine. And I've been able to experience a lot of Sifu Larry's curriculum through books, VHS tapes, DVDs, and I have ranking with that organization, but that comes through Sifu Tim. The reason I'm sharing all of this, as it's been taught to me and as I now teach it, the Junfan Gung Fu, Junfan being Bruce Lee's Chinese name. So we should say Bruce Lee's personal system of modified Kung Fu or Gung Fu. You have to have the Wing Chun. Okay, so I'm very fortunate, I'm a Black Sash full instructor under Sifu Francis Fong. And that's a decision that I made. I saw something special in Sifu Francis in the early aughts, and I wanted to continue with him. the seminal basics in the kickboxing modality with the footwork, that's something I've been able to experience with the people that I've just mentioned. I have a 7-level system of Junfan Gung Fu. And the way that it works in my current curriculum, the Junfan Gung Fu those are the prerequisites to being able to take the 4 phase examinations in Jeet Kune Do. And I'll explain this. So very briefly, Junfan 1 and Junfan 2 are the prerequisites for Jeet Kune Do phase 1. Junfan 3 and Junfan 4, Jeet Kune Do phase 3. Junfan 5 and Junfan 6, Jeet Kune Do phase 3, and then Junfan 7, you finished it, would set you up for Jeet Kune Do phase 4, at which point you finish the curriculum.
Okay.
It's going to be the drills and the combinations and the trapping basics and the punching basics and the footwork basics and the grappling basics is going to make up the Junfan. The Junfan levels are always going to be filled with more techniques and combinations and series and drills. The Jeet Kune Do is going to be performance, so light sparring, maybe other contested energy modalities, rolling, clinch work, pummeling. There's going to be performance drills or performance expectations. Jeet Kune Do is also going to be where there's going to be certain requirements for my students to go research their own endings to particular combinations and their own maybe entries. If we're talking about trapping, we have some seminal trapping combinations. So you might be tasked with researching entries from other different arts. So this is how I explain it. Junfan Gung Fu is a style or a system. Jeet Kune Do is the process or philosophy of developing your own tailor-made combat system based on the martial arts values that you explored in the Junfan. So it's a little hard with Jeet Kune Do for us to say, well, I can mix anything. You can't quite mix anything and call it Jeet Kune Do because it's gotta adhere to the martial arts values that we researched in our Junfan. So, example, sometimes in karate, and let me preface all of this by saying, if I haven't already made this explicit, I have great respect for all martial arts, except for like blatant charlatanism. I think that all martial arts have something to offer, and I think it's worth exploring in the right context. And I mean even martial arts that take a beating on the internet. You should go research it. You should go experience it for yourself. Okay? The only thing where you don't have to research it is blatant charlatanism, right? Pay me $5,000, and at the end of the weekend, if your chi is strong enough, you'll be levitating. Let me save you the $5,000. They're going to tell you at the end of the weekend that your chi wasn't strong enough. That's blatant charlatanism. You don't need to do any of that. But you should go, again, this is from the model of Guro and Santo. Go do your own research. Go experience it. Even if it's a one-off, if it's a seminar or a beginner's, like a 6-week beginner's class, go find your own answers. So when I say what I'm about to say, I'm not insulting anybody. And I don't want anybody who's going to watch this to think that Guru Bryan thinks that Jeet Kune Do and Filipino martial arts and Silat are the ultimate martial arts. I don't think anything is the ultimate martial art. I think martial arts is a lifelong endeavor. And I think what we should be focused on is finding the best and the ultimate version of ourselves. So I don't believe in putting any martial art down. So I've spent some time qualifying that, but it's very important, because if I don't do that, I haven't done my job, because that's not who I am as an instructor. I don't put down martial arts. My answer is always good. I can already tell you, if anybody comes to me and says, what do you think about martial art X? As long as it's not blatant charlatanism, I'm going to say, well, here's what I think is interesting, and you should go investigate it. So that being said, with me having set this up properly, sometimes in traditional karate, we'll chamber on the hip, right? Like when we do our front punches.
Right.
Well, we would have to filter that out. We would have to understand that's a training procedure only. And if you're doing that in execution, that wouldn't fit our JKD, because that's really telegraphic and that's not the shortest distance to the target. So you have to be aware of those kinds of things. If I'm going to do Tai Chi and focus on the forms, and I'm going to do Wing Chun, but I'm only going to focus on the forms, and I'm going to say, well, that's my Jeet Kune Do. Well, I mean, you know, we all know what Bruce Lee wrote about forms, and then right. you hear rumors that he did Selam Tao, the first form from Wing Chun, at least once a day until the day he died, no matter what he wrote. But having the majority of your practice dependent on forms, that isn't quite keeping with like the essence of our Jun Fon. So that doesn't really fit into JKD. If you found some highly direct, efficient application that you could apply universally from some simple movement from Tai Chi into your combative JKD, combative modified Wing Chun, now we're talking. Now we might be in alignment with those values that we explored in Jun Fon.
Right.
And so the only other consideration, if you really want to do Jeet Kune Do, there are plenty of resources, and you should go out and you should do your homework and you should experience the different branches of JKD. And like, that's what I would say is if there's somebody they have no resources. I mean, even I know a lot of people are gonna comment. I mean, there's information on YouTube, and I mean, I know anybody can post almost anything on YouTube, and I understand that. But if somebody really wants to take on a better understanding of Jeet Kune Do, they should seek out a JKD instructor. And I mean, that seems, you know, anybody, if they don't make their credentials transparent, just like in any other profession, I mean, that might give you a little bit of pause. But I'm also not trying to be a Jeet Kune Do elitist right now, because there's a lot of confusion and there's a lot of misconception. And I mean, I know I've been talking about JKD for many minutes now, and maybe I've just made it more confusing.
No.
But Junfan Gung Fu, Bruce Lee's modified system of Chinese martial arts, and then,
Right.
you know, pollinated with the other arts that he was researching.
Right.
A system or a style. Jeet Kune Do, the process and philosophy of developing your own tailor-made combat system from the martial arts values that you explored in Junfan.
Awesome. You explained it very well for me, to me. No? Guro, since you are an instructor in Jeet Kune Do, and you have trained a lot of other martial arts like Savate, Muay Thai, which historically have been linked to Jeet Kune Do also, because there are some techniques incorporated in the art. How was the process to, I mean, did you learn first Jeet Kune Do and then started to train Muay Thai, Savate, Wing Chun, and then you make your own personal style?
It's a great question. So when I started with Sifu Bud, he had a written curriculum. You could get, you know, he had, you could get copies. He had containers on the wall, and there were copies available, and you could grab the entire curriculum. There were no restrictions. It didn't matter what rank you had. You could just grab them. And again, I have the luxury of my background as an educator. So I started, oh great, the curriculum's written down. I grabbed them. I used to keep them in like sheet protectors, and then I would pull them out and I would make notes on them. Sifu Bud's curriculum was everything mixed together over the 4 phases. So at the very beginning, you're getting some Junfan, you're getting some modified Wing Chun, you're getting Filipino martial arts. I'm trying to think of his curriculum. I had it memorized at one point, but it's been a long time. Mm-hmm. You're getting, so the kicking that you do in Junfan is very much informed by Savate, like whip style snap kicking with your toes. So you're starting to see where those arts kind of cross-pollinate. Phase 2, I think there's a Thai boxing section, and so on. And so in his school, you got exposure to all those different arts. And then as I think I was with Sifu Bud for maybe my first 6 years, about in the lineage, regular seminars, different topics. So, you know, Mahaguru Stephen Plank is the top student under the late Pendekar Paul de Tours. He would come in 2 or 3 times a year, and he would do, Penchak Silat Sarah seminar there. We had Professor Salem S. Lee, one of the leading Savate instructors. You know, it's really him and Professor Nick. Those are the names, you know. And so Professor Salem would come over, and he would do a seminar, and then every now and then something would catch on. And so like Professor Salem would do a class or a seminar, and then we had Savate class for a while. There was Tony Adams, who at this point unfortunately has passed away, was a silver glove under Professor Daniel Doobie. And so Tony had a Savate class. And by that point, I was driving out to the Inosanto Academy for seminars. I went out there, Guru Inosanto would come over 2 or 3 times a year and do a 3-hour seminar for Sifu Bud. So that's where I first trained with him. And then the Inosanto Academy was 50 miles away, so I got comfortable with that drive. And I started going out there for seminars. And then eventually that became my home academy, and I was driving out there once a week and trying to get 3 hours a week directly with Guro Inosanto. Or I would go out on a Saturday. Saturday, there's 7 hours of class, multiple subjects. There was a Savate class. You could take Thai boxing. You could take Shuto, shoot wrestling with Sensei Yori Nakamura. All kinds of classes throughout basic Jun Fawn throughout the day. So those early years, I was just a sponge. And my feeling, this is why I took the time to tell you my background, couple years of martial arts, something would come up. A few more in my youth and my teens and young adulthood, a couple more years and something else would win. Couple more, it went that way for a while.
Mm.
When I found this lineage at 24, 25, this is it. This is where I'm supposed to be. These are the people I grew up reading about. And I mean, reading their articles in Black Belt Magazine, Inside Kung Fu, reading their books, buying their VHS tape. Now I'm training with these people. And so my feeling was, this is it. I'm grown. I'm a grown man. Like, if I drop out here, that means that I'm not supposed to do that. And so those first 3 or 4 years, I mean, I averaged 300, 400, 500 hours of class. You know, Sifu Bud, we had class Monday. You could either do Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, or Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. That was 7 hours of class a week. So that was 6 to 8 p.m. on the weekdays, and then that was 9 a.m. to noon on Saturday. Very soon after that, and I actually started Tuesday, Thursday. Very soon after that, they added a stick fighting class, and the stick fighting class was 8 p.m. to 9:30, and that started as a big class, and then we started hitting each other with soft sticks. It really just turned into about 7 or 8 guys. We would gear up and we would spar for 90 minutes. So 3 hours and 30 minutes of class, that's 7 hours, twice a week. And then the 3 hours of class on Saturday. And then at the time, I wasn't married yet. I'm not saying anything bad about marriage. The woman I'm married to was my girlfriend. We didn't have any children. Along with my job and along with my master's degree, that was what I was doing. And my wife, who was my girl, she understood. Oh, well, this is really important to Bryan. Yeah. Bryan's got, like, that was my feeling. I've found where I'm supposed to be. Not only have I found it, but I'm working with these people. And I guess I'm not a total disaster because I'm getting rank and they seem to like what I'm doing. And, I'm, a couple years went by and now I'm teaching for Sifu Bud. And so that's how it started, and everything. So I call them the big three. The big three are Guro Inosanto, Ajahn Chai for Thai boxing, and Sifu Francis. And where that really came out of is 2005, I went to the Train with the Legends seminar at the Inosanto Academy. So that's a 4-day seminar. It's 10 hours a day. Guro Inosanto does 4 hours split between Jeet Kune Do and then Filipino martial arts and Silat. Then Professor John-Jacques Machado, he's a red belt now under the great Professor Hickson Gracie. does 2 hours of jiu-jitsu. We take a 30-minute break. Sifu Fong teaches 2 hours of Wing Chun, 30-minute break. Ajahn Chai teaches 2 hours of Thai boxing. So it's a 10-hour day times 4 days. So it's Thursday through Sunday. I attended in 2005. That was my first time training with Ajahn Chai. That was my first time training with Sifu Fong. Immediately, and that was I call it a graduation present, because I had earned my first 2 phases under Sifu Bud in I think May of 2005. So Legends is always in June. I never missed Legends until I moved out to New York City. So from 2005 to 2018, I didn't always do all 40 hours, but there were many years where I did, especially later. Sometimes I wouldn't have the sub days, or there were a couple of days where I was an administrator at the high school level and it was harder to get time off. So I would just go for the weekend. But that seminar, when I was in Southern California, that was my favorite seminar of the year, because I got, time with who I consider probably at the very tip top of my pyramid of priorities, right? Is Guro Inosanto is at the very top, and then just slightly underneath him, even with each other, are Sifu Fong and Ajahn Chai. And that was initially how kind of that all got started. And everybody else was a matter of, like Dog Brothers, I got involved through seminar work. There were everybody very lucky, very privileged living in and being from Southern California. All these great people are out there. So this is just what we did. Again, this is what Guru modeled for us. And Savat, we had Savat class at Sifu Buds. There was another school in Orange County where I went and did like a supplemental year to get my preliminary rank in Thai boxing and Savat, and that's where I did all my testing. When Sifu Nick would come to town, we'd get ready for Savat testing, and this just kind of what we did. We made time for the instructors and the arts and the organizations that we wanted to work with.
Excellent. You literally went to a university of martial arts, basically.
Yes. And I'm and again, I want to be honest and transparent. So there were a good 4 years, maybe 5 years where I did, once a week I would get out to try to get out once a week to the Inosanto Academy for like a Thursday. I could get 3 hours with Guro Inosanto. And then later, I was married, I had kids. Again, I'm not saying anything negative about children or marriage, but life just looks a little bit different. Your time looks a little bit different. I was always very lucky because the Inosanto Academy was a 50-mile drive, and I had friends out there. I could go, so even though later when life got busy, when I had my own groups and my own martial arts academies or my garage group, and I'm trying to manage everything, could still very easily through seminars and workshops get, anywhere from like 50 to maybe 75 hours with Guro Inosanto through seminars and workshops. So it was always a great arrangement. But like, I don't know, I don't know that I was ever like an academy regular. Like that time period was a long time ago. I know probably honestly, a lot of people used to think I was from Georgia, because when Sifu would come to town, because Sifu Fong is based in a suburb of Atlanta, Georgia. When Sifu would come to California to do a seminar, I was always there. And sometimes, depending on who else was on the floor, you know, he would demo with me. And so a lot of people maybe who didn't know me at the academy, they'd always, well, how's Sifu? And I'm like, well, I hear he's fine, you know, because they thought I had maybe come in with him because I was getting a lot of my time through seminars and workshops. So it was always an incredibly lucky, no matter what it was, those years where I could get out there for classes, and then those busy years where I could just get out there for seminars and workshops, you still get a ton of time with Guro and with those other amazing instructors. So it's, I love living in New York City. I really do. It's hard. My wife and myself, our family, our entire family is back in Southern California. We just really love living here. But one of the things, along with my family and friends that are back on the other side of the country, I miss the Inosanto Academy. Yeah. The ability to, you know, I know that drive like the back of my hand, and I mean, LA traffic, sometimes it's a nightmare, but leaving there, you're so pumped up. And I mean, it just such a, again, very privileged to be in a position to even drive out there for seminars or classes and do that drive. So I'm very, very lucky that way that I got that time. And, you know, knock on wood, hopefully things get safe again. And I mean, the nice part is all those instructors travel and they come out here, and we, you know, I still get I got my time with Guro Inosanto from his seminars out here, and have so many friends from these different associations that I've known over the years on the East Coast. And when I moved out here, it was just like, hey, Bryan, awesome. And so you're out here now, so let us know how we can help you. So it's a wonderful community of martial artists, not just in the United States, but I mean, really in the world.
Right. Excellent. Guro, do you want to take a break? Do you still got some time for us?
Yeah, I'm fire away. I mean, you tell me, you know, let's go for it.
Okay, great. Well, you were talking about Guro Mark Denny, and there I know that the Doc Brothers was also an important part of your training, the pressure testing, because you also include a lot of pressure testing in your classes. That's and you have an impressive fighting record. So now that we're talking about pressure testing and Filipino martial arts, I know you wrote a book. I downloaded the book, which is called Career Command for Filipino Martial Arts. My two main questions are, I mean, I know it's by the title, some people may say, well, this is just like a Tony Robbins thing, okay? But right. When I started to read the book, you are actually teaching Filipino martial arts inside the book. So it's quite rare. It's quite great. How can you explain us the process and why Filipino martial arts? What attributes have Filipino martial arts can teach, or what attributes can you get from Filipino martial arts that are not the same from other martial arts?
So that's a great multi-part question. Let me try to speak to all of the parts of that question. So I spend a lot of my time now working with martial arts instructors or aspiring martial arts instructors, or I mean, people that at their core they want to teach. And what my challenge to them, the names, the big names in these arts, they are the names for a reason. And when we just think about our martial arts on let's for a moment, a business level, which is important, and we don't, we don't want to be, we want to have morals and we want to have integrity, but whether you're professional or semi-professional, you're talking about business, and it's very important. And martial artists are kind of funny because they'll get uncomfortable, and I'll get back to that in a moment. If the names are the names and people are only prepared to hear the voices of those legends, and again, those legends deserve their status. A lot of times my challenge to instructors or inspiring instructors, where can you take your practice as a martial artist? And here, I don't care what art or arts we're talking about. How can you take your practice in another direction to serve a population of people beyond the small part of the population that might be interested in formal classes? So I'm glad, seriously, you framed your question the way you did. What is this, a life coaching, Tony Robbins kind of a thing? So here's the statistical reality. Only, and it's worse right now. You and I were talking about the pandemic and the reality of the pandemic before we started this recording. Only but let's talk about, again, knock on wood, when things are reopen and hopefully soon when we're approaching normalcy. Only a small percentage of people of any population in any country or any area is gonna enroll in formal martial arts classes. That's just a reality, a small percentage. The other reality, this is hard for a lot of martial artists to accept. The other reality is, of that small percentage that actually does enroll, most of them won't make it past their first year. And that's not, I'm not being negative, and I'm not talking negatively about, and I'm not saying it's anybody's fault, and these are real statistics. Right. If that's the reality, but I know that martial arts are a vehicle for people to transform themselves and their lives, it's really unfortunate if I have tunnel vision my entire career as a martial arts instructor, and I say the only people that are worth my time are the people who are going to enroll in my program and stay in there for years and go all the way to black belt or full instructor. Only a minority of a minority of a minority are going to do that. My breed, we are the people who are going to travel for their training, the people who are going to train in multiple systems with multiple instructors over their lifetimes. This is not a statement of ego. A minority in a very incredibly small percentage. So if that's the reality, how can I create something that can help people utilize the transformative aspect of martial arts in their lives, even in some small way? That's the idea behind Career Command through Filipino martial arts. Now, why did I choose Filipino martial arts? Because I love every art that I teach. I really do. And like I was saying earlier, I can't imagine my practice without all of its current pieces and all of my instructors, all of them, no matter what I've said so far in this interview. They're all important. If you, and I really hate this question, but I get it all the time. If you force me to answer the question, Bryan, you have kids. If you had limited time to teach them one martial art, what martial art would you teach them? And I'm going to say it again. I hate that question because they're all important. I love all of them. But if you held me down and forced me to answer that, my answer is going to be Filipino martial arts. The way the different weapons configurations integrate with each other, single stick, double stick, uneven weapons, stick and dagger, stick and short stick, espada y daga, dos manos, whether it's a staff or just a longer stick that you're going to use a two-handed hold, flexible weapons, sarong, single dagger, double dagger, mixed grips, point up with point down, double point down, the empty hands, panantukan, dumog, the the crossover of what some people would label as panantukan and dumog with silat, because there's a lot of cross pollination there. Southeast Asia, it's Southeast Asian martial arts. Right. So a lot of it, even though different regions, they don't want to hear this. There's a lot of similarities.
Right.
The way that all those weapons configurations integrate with each other so that, like, as I'm sitting here, I have this pen. It's a plastic pen, but it's got, this is metal. What the Filipino martial arts gives me, empty-handed proficiency and the ability to pick up almost any object or objects and weaponize them.
Right.
I feel like that's incredibly unique. And so thinking about, so now again, we're going to try to use martial arts in an 8-week program. You're reading the book. It's supposed to be laid out as an 8-week program. If the statistical reality is only so many people are going to enroll in formal martial arts classes, and we know that of that small amount, most aren't going to make it past their first year, here's this 8-week program where I want to take Filipino martial arts and I want to utilize it to bring about a change in the person that's reading this book. There's something unique about Filipino martial arts. You're swinging a stick. You learn how to whistle that stick. You learn how to make noise. You can feel the power. You're training, even with trainers, you're learning blade concepts. There's something unique about the way Filipino martial arts transforms your DNA in terms of the way that you carry yourself. Dog Brothers was really important, and this kind of goes back to your earlier question. Dog Brothers is really important to me. I didn't play sports growing up. I mean, I played with my friends. Like, I wasn't on team sports.
Right.
I don't think of myself as a particularly graceful person. I still don't. Anybody who looks at anything, any of my videos, and they're like, man, that's cool in terms of my movement, that's like a bonus. I don't think of myself as a particularly great. I'm short. I have short legs. I don't think my son is like tall and lanky. You know, if he didn't look just like me, I always told my wife I would have some questions. Like, he's got this beautiful, my daughter too, that she's thin, wiry, like they're developing their grace. I don't think of myself as a graceful person. Dog Brothers was so important because I did a seminar, and this is kind of going back to my other point. I lurked on their website. I lurked. I did not post. I didn't do anything for maybe 4 to 6 months. And it was a clip of Punang Guru Mark talking. No martial arts, 0 martial arts techniques. It's a clip. He's talking to the group after the first ever Die Less Often seminar. And I listened to him lead the conversation, and there's a disconnect. These guys are supposed to be crazy. This guy is not crazy. This is very articulate. This is very well reasoned. I want to go learn more about this. And you know, this is just how it went. Everybody at Sifu Buds, oh, Dog Brothers, they're gonna break your ribs and you're gonna break your arm. And hey, it's a seminar. Calm down. It's a seminar. I'm gonna go to a seminar. I'm not fighting. I'm gonna go to a seminar. I went to that seminar. Everybody that I met, man, these guys are cool. Nobody's crazy here. Nobody's reckless. Like, the bruising that I got was very minor, and it was pressure testing. What we call in Dog Brothers call it the dog catcher, is the empty hand versus knife solution that is at the core of Die Less Often. And it, not bad. I mean, not like horrible, like a couple small little bruises on my arm, like from any like hard class. And then a couple months later, there was the next one. There was Die Less Often 3. And I went to Die Less Often 2, and then I went to the third one. After the third one, you know, I think I'm gonna go fight. This I like these guys. I like the vibe of you. And 2006, I went and it was the same thing. Everybody at Seafood, be careful. You're gonna get a concussion. You're gonna get broken ribs. You're gonna break your arm. There was that one unfortunate video of it's like only one of the few times it's ever happened. You know, this poor guy got hit right across the kneecap, and it did some damage. Like, that clip was floating around at the time. I did a knife versus knife. I did a 2-on-2. I think it was knife. Both team members had knives. We don't really count our knife fights. Those are supposed to be like the warm-ups. I did a single stick fight with my buddy from the school in Orange County. It went well. The stick fight portion went very well. When we started grappling, I was like, oh, I need some grappling training. And then I did a double stick fight with a gentleman from Cas Magda's school in the Valley. And we had another double stick fight at the following gathering. And that was like a fun series because we were like good opponents for each other. He was a super cool guy. Yeah. But that first gathering, I went back to Buds, Seafood Buds, and are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Well, what happened? And I got to tell them, I pulled this off in real time, and I pulled this off in real time. And I figured out I got to work on this, and this happened, and and it wasn't bad. And so I went back and I fought again. And I went back and I fought again. And I took more fights. And 2008 was the 20th anniversary gathering. And we were in Temecula, California, which is in Riverside County, which is actually later where I got married. That's where my wife spent her 30th birthday, and then we started going down there. So Temecula is a very special place to me. We almost moved to Temecula at one point, and we were fighting in a horse corral of all things with the dirt and no horses, but that was a 3-day gathering, and I think I got 15 fights in 3 days. I was just fighting and fighting and fighting, and that's where I made Full Dog Brother. And with all the formality of you take a knee, they kind of tap you on the shoulder, and they say your dog brother name, and that's it, right? There's no black belt, no certificate, but one of the most important achievements of my entire martial arts career.
Yeah.
And currently I'm at exactly 50 stick fights. There was a time when I aspired to get to 100. I don't know if that'll happen, but I know I'm not retired. I know I want to fight in Canada at least once. We have Canadian gatherings at Chuhan Phil's sled dog school, and they have gatherings in Europe. I know I'd like to fight in Europe at least once. Those are kind of my priorities. I'd like to experience that bond in those 3 places. And so because Dog Brothers has been so essential, I'm 5'7.5". I know it's hard to do on Zoom sometimes. I'm not a tall person, as I was sharing earlier. Again, honesty and transparency. I've since I moved to New York City, started taking care of myself. From my heaviest, I dropped about 40 pounds. A lot of my 30s, educator, father. I'm not making excuses, just the reality. I was an administrator. The 3 years I was a high school administrator, I was not taking very good care of myself. Those were hard years, I'm sharing that because if I can do it, and I'm not Joe Six-Pack, and I'm not 6'2", anybody can do it. All right. And there's no, we have guys like Sled Dog, Chuhan Phil, he's still in his 60s. And, I had my 50th fight. I did a double stick fight, and double stick is with no ego, one of my strongest areas. And it was like being at a clinic. Like I couldn't touch Phil. He's that good. And it was awesome. It was awesome. And so I make we mean it. Some days you're the hammer and some days you're the anvil. And taking a beating and being able to know what you can actually survive is valuable as well. So some of those fights where it doesn't go your way, those are incredibly valuable as well. I know, I know what I'm capable of in terms of if I'm getting the worst of it, and I have that. So Filipino martial arts, this vehicle for trying to help people transform the way they carry themselves in the book, seemed like the perfect fit. And we're not even talking about Dog Brothers, because there's something when you mention Dog Brothers, like no other martial. people get very, well, I've done this and I've done, whoa. I'm not implying that you're anything less if you haven't done Dog Brothers. You don't worry about that. I'm telling you about my experience and the choices that I've made. I continue, I'll tell this story and then stop this answer. I know I've been talking for a while. My very first gathering, I brought hockey gloves because I told you about that stick fighting class at Sifu Bud's class. That's what I used to wear for hand protection. And Punong Guru Mark he didn't know me very well. I mean, he knew me from seminars, but he didn't know me very well. So in the goings on, he kind of, he didn't really scream at me, but he was very curt with me. And he loaned me some thinner gloves. And I did my fights and it was fine. That stuck with me. I didn't want to have that issue again. So my second gathering, I brought these leather kind of like work gloves. They're maybe one step above gardening gloves. There's no padding. That just became, those are my gloves. And so a lot of the guys, they're always like, well, you should protect your hands. And I'm like, well, I'm not trying to prove a point. These are my gloves. Like I've done, I think 46 of those fights, 45, 44 in those gloves, stick fights. And that's a choice I made. And even February, I went to the Philippines for Pikiti Tercia, and we have, we call it blade rules. With stick fighting, it's live stick fighting. I don't think anybody would be insulted by this. It's kind of Dog Brothers light. It's live sticks. There's no punching, there's no grappling, there's no throwing. But you're still fighting with live sticks and getting hit with live sticks with a fencing mask on. I brought my gloves, and I just had to explain to everybody because they kept, do you want to borrow hockey gloves? I'm like, no. These are my gloves, and please understand, with these gloves, I'm not trying to imply that you're not going to be able to hit my hands. In fact, I took one really good thumb shot during one of my fights, and I had a blood blister for some time. It only went away a few weeks ago, or months ago, but it was there for a while. And I just kept explaining, no. I appreciate your concern. These are my gloves. This is what I've chosen for myself because I want to experience hand shots. And if I make up my mind that I've had enough experience, I'll go to heavier, not hockey gloves, because I don't agree with that at all for Dog Brothers. I mean, Pikiti Tercia, you can do it because, again, it's slightly different. It's a little less contact, and I'm not insulting Pikiti Tercia. Some of those fighters are awesome, and very dangerous. But Dog Brothers, that the whole focus on less protection, that's part of the Dog Brothers experience. So that's what I wanted to give people. And Filipino martial arts is such a unique thing. It just brings, I don't want to get too new agey. I don't want to get too Tony Robbins. There's something about it. I don't know if it just appeals to our shared, like the collective of using ancient weapons. There's just something about it, whether bladed weapons or blunt impact weapons. I don't care who it is or how old they are. Like I can put a soft stick in anybody's hands and it just starts to change the way that they move and the way that they carry themselves. So that's why I picked Filipino martial arts for that book. That's what I was trying to accomplish with that book is another focus, another area of service for some people who could use some improvement. in an area in their life that isn't necessarily signing up at our academies or online classes for traditional martial arts classes. That's what I was trying to accomplish.
Awesome, good. Well, I've been enjoying all your stories, and it's very inspiring that you are offering to people this program, because I read it myself. I haven't finished it, but it's you know, it's good for motivation, and you can help a lot of people this way. And I know you are very committed to do that, because I also follow your Zoom live classes during the lockdown, and you completed 100 hours of teaching. So that's something that I really admire. And sadly, we are running out of time, but I don't want to end the interview. Maybe we can set another meeting.
Fantastic.
Because there's a lot I want to talk about with you.
I would love that. Can I share one thing very briefly?
Yes, sir.
So for everybody out there, don't stop your journey. Again, honesty and transparency, everybody. Those are my two big words. What's going on with me right now? My academy in Midtown Manhattan got shut down during the pandemic. I no longer have it. I moved my practice into my living room. Everything has been online. There have been a lot of successes. June was honestly one of my best months ever. Purely online, out of my living room. Currently, to really transition my family financially out of this, I accepted a 5th and 6th grade teaching position. I'm teaching English at a school in Brooklyn. So all I wanted to share, don't stop your journey. Like, even though when the pandemic started, I was a little bit more full-time focused martial arts, and that's what I was doing. Seriously, it doesn't matter. The journey continues, and as long as you don't stop, then you're gonna get results. So that's all I wanted to share, is kind of my current status. A consolidated website, everybody, bryanstoopsmartialarts.com. I recently created. It's a very simple website where you have links to all my different offerings. So please check that out. As we mentioned earlier, the book is careercommand.org. You can still get, because I with the pandemic, I haven't gone to self-publishing yet. You can still get a complimentary free copy by just supplying me with your best email address. And then on YouTube, my channel name is Dr. Bryan Stoops, and I spell my first name with a Y. And those 100 hours that we mentioned earlier is my commitment. I just wanted to teach, record, and upload 100 complimentary hours of martial arts classes to try to help as many people as possible. And for the people out there, if you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense from a business standpoint, a ton of my online students converted to members in my actual program, and I have them today. And I've kind of grown this wonderful community from that. And so, I mean, but I'll be really honest with you. I didn't know. All I knew is that I wanted to teach some martial arts. I did not start that as some kind of plan to grow my business. All I knew is I didn't just want to keep practicing alone in the living room. I knew I wanted to teach. And so I just started recording classes. So I'm going to stop talking. Please don't, everybody out there.
Actually, I was
don't stop your journey.
Actually,
sorry, go ahead.
Ask you about your links, and if the training that you're offering in your website includes all the martial arts. Are you certified?
So our big three are for adults are Filipino martial arts, the Junfon and Jeet Kune Do program, as I explained it, and then Silat. And we're slowly but surely getting a Wing Chun progression up there as well. And we're slowly and surely getting, I wrote a blended kickboxing program, Western boxing, Thai boxing, and Sabat. And that's being uploaded. But Jeet Kune Do, Filipino martial arts, and Silat, they're finished. Meaning every level, every requirement has its own separate tutorial video. Along with, you can download the written requirements as a PDF so that you can study along with it and make notes. And currently, all of my members are earning, because I don't give anything away, earning rank through video testing. And I have a student all the way in Australia. He's getting ready for his red belt examination in Filipino martial arts. That's the second to last belt. And frankly, the hardest exam, because the black belt is more about ceremony and kind of sharing out some of your own learning kind of a thing. So that is legitimate. And this gentleman, because he puts in the time, you wouldn't know that I haven't trained him in person and actually touched hands with him, because everything is laid out. And I mean, this is second best to being able to train live with somebody. And my members, they just keep knocking me out, impressing me with their progress and their dedication. And this is probably maybe a good stopping place. Live classes with an instructor that you enjoy learning from, absolutely, that's the best situation. But if you're telling me I'm unwilling to do anything until I can get that again, I'm going to politely say to you that you're wasting this time. Because Zoom, we're doing great things. And what I want for everybody is, I don't want people to end up in a figurative pit of a year where you haven't been doing any training because, oh, I'm so bummed out, I can't go in for classes. I understand that, believe me. I had to shut my academy down. I also had live classes on Roosevelt Island where I was teaching. Those were blowing up. I had to shut all that down. So I get it. But if the alternative is not training at all, that's not acceptable to me, because we're leveraging the technology to do great things. And I mean, I've been able to train with a bunch of my instructors remotely, you know, Grand Tuhan Gahi, Pakiti Tercia, you know, several seminars. I'm going to attend another a virtual seminar this weekend. I did a virtual version of my Filipino martial arts trainers weekend. It was awesome. It was one of the highlights of my martial arts career. I had 17 or 18 people from around the country participating. And I would say seriously, maybe 3% of the experience that you would get live was lost, but about 97% we completely recreated with everybody training through Zoom. It was awesome. So I get it. This is such a scary, heartbreaking time period, but don't let it break you. Like, keep your training going, find a way, don't give up, keep the process going. So even though I'm kind of focused on my new job right now, and I mean, like, martial arts is definitely taking a second place right now in terms of my career priorities, because I want to do good at this new job. I'm not stopping my practice. Nothing stops, because that's not what we do. So don't, vent, like, kick your heavy bags and swing your sticks, do your kettlebells. get all that negative emotion out, but don't give up your practice. Don't give up your martial arts. Don't let this time period break you. Find a way to practice. Find a way to keep up your practice, so that when things get going again, shoom, we just pick up from where we left off.
Excellent. And I wanted to ask you, I know you're a stand-up comedian, right?
Well, so I mean, this is maybe nice to share. Right before the pandemic, I'm doing all this traveling. I just had been watching a ton of stand-up, and I mentioned I have a performing arts background. I really wanted to start doing open mics, and I was writing material. It was just something I was planning on doing. And then the pandemic hits and shuts us down, and I found all these different online comedy studios, open mics, performances. So that's something that I've been kind of very much amateur basis, but that's been something that I've been pursuing 100% through Zoom. One of my best friends in Southern California does some open mics and shows with this a comedy studio out in LA. And I noticed that they were doing virtual open mics. So I just kind of checked in with my buddy. I said, hey, I know this is your studio. I just want to make sure you're okay with it. And just started doing them. And then there's a ton of them, but there's a particular comedy studio out here in the city. And so I did a 4-week a stand-up comedy class through Zoom. And then I've been doing just kind of various shows for family and friends. Most of them for free, obviously, just so I can get some stage time. And it's been really great fun. So, I mean, that's something that I was really interested in doing, that I wanted to do. And I mean, I'm not trying to be passive aggressive. I didn't sit around going, oh, everything's closed. It presented this really interesting opportunity to try this thing that I wanted to do anyway in kind of a different way. Because if it sounds really crazy, if everything was open, there's no way that I would have been able to develop that relationship with that comedy studio in LA. Like, all of my interaction with them has been through Zoom, and they've been awesome. They've been so supportive. I've done a bunch of open mics. They booked me for a couple of their shows. They have a fundraising telethon this Sunday. They're hurting a little bit because they're still paying rent. I'm performing in that, trying to help them raise some revenue. It's been, like I say, it's a scary, very uncertain time, but in a weird way, it's also been kind of an exciting time. Like, let's leverage this technology and let's try to live our lives. And I mean, of course, we all miss travel, and we miss all of our favorite businesses, and we miss our academies and all that stuff. But I mean, life also goes on, and we've got to find a way to try to be positive, and we got to find a way to have joy in our lives and not just shut down. Because life will restart. I don't know how long it's going to take, but we all have to be positive, and we all have to believe that, and we all have to keep going so that when things are finally back to normal, that we're ready to jump back into our lives. So, yeah.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Bruce Lee who said, you don't have to be the best to start, but you have to start to be the best.
I believe that is a Bruce Lee quote. So that's the words to live by. Just get going, get started. I mean, buy get something streaming in your living room. It doesn't, I'm not even doing self-promotion, although I think my materials are awesome, but it could be anything, yoga, writing, but also be kind to yourself. That's the other thing. I see so many memes on the internet about, you know, oh, if you don't come out of this without a book, or look, we all got to take care of ourselves too. So part of this is not going crazy. So, I mean, yeah, maybe engage with those things and start some of those endeavors, but also take care of yourself, and don't let this very hard time period break you.
Excellent. Well, Guro, I cannot say that how grateful I am with about all this time that you share with us, and I expect to have you in a second part. Just let me know when you are available to do it, and I'll send you the links of the
Please.
recording so you can share it on your networks. And it's been a great pleasure. And
Yeah.
so I just have to tell to our audience that have a good night. I hope that they enjoyed this interview. And again, thank you very much, Guro.
Henry, thank you very much. I'm really honored. Thanks for asking me.
Have a good night, Guro.
All right, you too. Bye now.
Bye bye.